James Dolan does not like owning the New York Knicks as it just came out, and we have to talk about this because this is huge news that could have huge implications for the New York Knicks in the future. So welcome back to Knicks Digest, guys. My name is Chris, and we're going to jump right into it as we always do. James Dolan has just said to the New York Times that he does not like owning the New York Knicks. He also said that he does not like owning the New York Rangers, except it's a little different because throughout Dolan's tenure as the Rangers owner, he has mainly stayed out of the way, where with the Knicks, he has constantly gotten in the way up until the Leon Rose era, where Dolan has more stayed out of things with his focus being on the MSG sphere, something we will go into because that actually is a huge implication on the Knicks as a whole and on the Rangers too. But this is the Knicks channel, as we know. We are going to talk about the Knicks here. And the New York Knicks fans, myself included, are not big fans of James Dolan, to put it lightly. The reason is that Dolan would usually come in and screw things up, and he's mainly stayed out of the way. But now we're hearing that he doesn't even really like owning the New York Knicks, or the Rangers for that matter. So let's look at this, because there's a lot to break down here. Dolan told the New York Times that he doesn't really like owning teams. You don't really like owning teams, yet you do it. He owns both the Knicks and the Rangers, as it's said here. And he said the 68-year-old told the Times the Rangers and Knicks are near and dear to his heart, but he's turned off by the economics involved in the ownership, calling it kind of sleepy. I have no idea what that even means, kind of sleepy, owning a team. Owning a team seems like it would be a ton of work, but maybe that's why the Knicks have been so bad for the last 25 years, because Dolan has now owned the Knicks for 25 years, and for the most part, they have been the laughingstock of the NBA up until very recently, where, as I said, Dolan, for the most part, has been staying out of things more since the Leon Rose era. Dolan and Steve Mills were very close. Steve Mills was the president before Leon Rose took over. He also worked with the Knicks for a while outside of like the Phil Jackson years and a little bit in between then. But Steve Mills never once saw the playoffs as a New York Knicks executive. They finally got rid of him, and Dolan seemed to stay out of the way. Who knows? Maybe Leon Rose told him he had to, and Dolan listened because he knew this was the right move, because he has a history with Leon Rose, because Leon was Carmelo Anthony's agent during the time of the Melo trade. And if there's one thing for certain, it is that James Dolan does in fact love Carmelo Anthony. So maybe he listened. Who knows? Or maybe it's because of this MSG sphere, something we are going to go into. But right now, here's really what we need to understand. James Dolan just admitted that he does not like owning the New York Knicks, but he holds them near and dear to his heart. That second part is what's sort of the kicker, because that means he's probably not going to sell the team. It means he's probably going to keep the team within the Dolan family, something that none of us really want, I think. I think we would all like to see a shift in ownership. However, it does not feel like that's the way we're going, unless James Dolan is intrigued by something else. Because, as I said, there's a chance that Leon Rose told James Dolan, hey, you need to stay out of the way, I know what I'm doing, and basically just own the team, finance us, and be one of those owners who's really more silent and just does his own thing while happening to own a sports team, and do what you have to do as a generic owner, instead of coming in here, screwing things up, and then having the Knicks fans come hate all of us, and then I get fired as Leon Rose. I digress. Essentially what we have here is now we're looking at Leon Rose and the company that is the New York Knicks front office, which is essentially just CAA, sort of taking the reins and making the Knicks a good team, while Dolan is more distracted by this MSG sphere out in Las Vegas. I said we were going to talk about it. We are going to talk about this because this is the sphere. Not Dolan saying that he doesn't like owning teams. The MSG sphere is what makes me want to raise this question. Will James Dolan sell the team? And I already sort of answered that I don't think he's going to. So let me just give the reason why I think it's very possible because of this MSG sphere. First of all, this is like $1 billion thing that they're doing here. Like, they have put so much money into this Vegas sphere. It's just this new, almost something you'd see in like a planetarium in New York or something. It's a completely spherical concert hall, mainly. That's what it's being used for, is concerts. And it's got 18,600 seats. It's supposed to give 4D whatever mumbo jumbo, where essentially it's a futuristic sphere. That is what we need to know here. It's a futuristic sphere. And James Dolan thinks it's the next great thing. And that is what he is focused on. He is not as focused on the Knicks. He's focused on financing this and making this his big thing. That is what could lead him to really just selling the Knicks and the Rangers and moving on from this MSG light, because he is going to get more focused on the Sphere. Now, something to be noted is that it is sort of an MSG Sphere, the same way that once upon a time MSG also sort of, or well, the Garden was sort of owning the TD Garden, which was the Boston Garden up in Boston, with the Celtics once upon a time. Sort of getting off track, but essentially the point is with that is that MSG has ownership over a few different entities, and there is a world where James Dolan sells this to focus on his Sphere, which he can do. He can sell the Knicks and the Rangers separately. So that, I think, is what we're all hoping for, is that Dolan focuses on this, goes out to Las Vegas. He is older now. He's 68 years old. There's a world where he will want to fully cut back on this and sort of retire. Or he could just give the team to one of his kids or something, because the man's got so much money. It's not like he needs to sell the team. The Knicks make him money. So even if the Knicks are bad, they make him money. It's sort of like how baseball owners always make money off baseball, whether their team's good or not, because of shared revenue. The New York Knicks are the New York Knicks. They play in Madison Square Garden. They're in the biggest media market in the world. Dolan's always going to get money for owning the New York Knicks, which is why it is so hard for him to sell the team. The Knicks would go for multi-billion dollars. It would be crazy. It would be probably the most expensive team to buy, because not only are they just the New York Knicks, they're one of the two NBA teams that have never left their location or changed their name, that were around when the NBA was formed in 1947. The other being the Boston Celtics, in case you're interested. That threw me off a little bit. But really, the Knicks would be so expensive to buy that it's a very, very few amount of people. It would have to be some sort of ownership group that could really buy the Knicks off of Dolan. And just because he said that he does not like owning these teams, it doesn't mean that he wants to sell them. And I think that's where we all went when we saw this, was maybe an indication that he would be open to selling the Knicks. The issue is, the Knicks always are making so much money, it might not make sense for Dolan to ever sell the Knicks, because the Knicks have made a ton of money when they're bad. What if the Knicks get good? Let's say that the Knicks go out there and land Giannis or Embiid next offseason, have a superstar on their roster that they did not have to deplete the roster for because of all their assets, and then they go out next year in 2025, so really next season, 24-25 season, not the one that's about to start, and they win the NBA Finals. If you think the Knicks are expensive now, think about the NBA Finals Knicks. The Knicks that are on nationally televised games, winning those games all the time. The amount of people that will just become Knicks fans because of that will be crazy. That's how the New York Yankees have all their fans around the world, is because their games are always nationally televised. That would happen to the Knicks if they were to start winning, and they would get so much more expensive, while the MSG Sphere would also probably just somehow benefit off that because it's the same company, and then Dolan could make probably double the money he could make right now. That is why Dolan is not going to sell the Knicks. It really does not make a ton of business sense for a guy who does not need the money to sell the New York Knicks. But him saying that he does not like owning the team could be a sign that either maybe he'll pass it on to his child or something, and maybe they'll be a better owner, or maybe he will just go out and sell the team anyway, which is almost impossible to imagine that actually happens. But this is a step in the right direction for the Knicks fans who want to move on from James Dolan, which I would say is about 99.99% of the fan base. And with that, that is all that we have to talk about on this subject. It's a cool thing to think about with James Dolan potentially leaving the Knicks and selling this team. But it's also a pipe dream, because the Knicks are getting better, and if they are able to land a superstar and win a championship, they'd get so much more expensive that it would look bad for Dolan to sell them now. And one thing more than anything we know, because of the amount of people who get banned from MSG for talking crap about James Dolan, is that the man has an ego, and he does not want to look like he made a bad business decision. So unfortunately, I do not think the New York Knicks will be getting sold. However, you never know, and I think we're all sort of hoping for it. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. This channel is only going up from here. We're about to start really pumping out more content. We have so many ideas on what to do with this channel, especially when the season starts. Me and Troy are going to get on here together. We're going to start talking. We're going to debate because in case you guys didn't realize yet, we clearly agree on nothing outside of our love for the Knicks. So that'll be super fun to tune into. It'll be our own Knicks version of First Take, essentially. And we're going to have a great time with it. We're also going to be doing game recaps. We're going to be doing so much on this channel. I promise you do not want to miss it. Things are about to go through the roof, guys. So make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on Knicks Digest. And remember, go Knicks.